Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Mr. Efeni.
Good morning, Tunde. Good morning, Leila. One of those crazy days in Lagos.
Let's not talk about it.
Let's go to the very serious business of newspaper review. Now, this day, the lead story: to instill transparency, forensic audit of NDDC operations. Buhari orders forensic audit of NDDC operations, the Niger Delta Development Commissions. Then Senate probe alleged allegations of agencies contract. Yes, how contract for clearing of ISINs for 2.5 billion became 665 billion.
That's a massive inflation.
I like the way these days juxtapose both headlines. If you are looking for justification for this forensic audit, to start from 2011?
Yeah.
Till date, then this is it. Because if under the watch of a very strict president like Buhari, some persons still have the temerity to change a contract of 2%, which looks high in itself, to 65 billion.
Crazy.
Tells you perhaps there must be a lot of rot in that agency. But more importantly, this agency was set up for the development of the Niger Delta, where many of us come from. And over time, as a reporter, I had the opportunity to travel beyond my own locality to almost every nook and cranny in the Niger Delta. And you see poverty, deprivation, and underdevelopment. But since the setting up of the NDDC, if you go to the same area, you will see not much had really changed.
That's what we were literally just talking about with Dr. Okechukwu, and the delay on all the infrastructural developments in the area is just absurd.
That was the southeast. But even if you're not from the south-south, we all benefit from the Niger Delta. It cannot be overemphasized that this is our budget is benchmark on oil. That if that does not tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what will.
70% of our foreign exchange.
Yes. So this is important for everybody. Every Nigerian wants to know. I fully support this audit.
So let's see what will come out of it. We move over to other newspapers. Let me just quickly run. These papers arrived late because of the rains. Now we have the Daily Independent. Despite October deadline, reps yet to get 2020 budget details. MDAs appear for defense empty-handed. We may be forced to pass budget without details, lawmakers.
How can you pass a budget without details?
Now, for those...
No, that can't, wait. That can't even be serious.
This is not a laughing matter.
No,
it's just
if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Leila's expression of utter disgust.
Yes.
I'm so disgusted.
No, let's go back just one step. Let's take a step back. In the 8th National Assembly, the problem was as if, it was Bukola Saraki and Yakubu Dogara. But many Nigerians also fail to remember that when they send this budget, you will beg the ministers, you will cajole them, you will threaten them to come with the details, and this was going on and on. But when we're talking about the delays, all the blame was put on a certain Dr. Bukola Saraki, who was more or less an opposition, although he was an APC member.
And even more recently...
But now it is manifesting itself once again.
No, but more recently, when the president placed this ban on ministers and directors traveling willy-nilly, some eyebrows were raised that how dare he? This is why he's had to do that.
Yep.
Is this kind of behavior that's been addressed?
I hope these legislators will stick to their guns. not to pass budget without details.
Well, if they do, they're just throwing themselves into the deepest pit, so good luck to them.
But that will be seen as cooperating with the executive.
That would be an absolute disaster. One of their functions is oversight. You don't just merely rubber stamp whatever the executive
Separation
brings you.
of powers for a reason.
You must scrutinize what the executive has presented.
Well, the Nation newspaper, let's go to the Nation newspaper. Federal government labor seal new minimum wage agreements. TUC, it's win-win. The general strike has been averted. So that's a good one for Nigeria and Nigerians and for the economy, because to shut down the economy for no matter how long has serious cost implication.
Yeah.
But now both parties were able to agree the new offer. Grade level 7 will get 23.2% increase, level 8, 20%, level 9, 19%, levels 10 to 14, 16%, and levels 15 to 17, 14%.
That's great news.
Yes,
and
so
without the mass retrenchment as well,
without
that was
the mass
threatened.
retrenchment, and hopefully the government will be able to find the money. At least this should be within government capacity.
Hopefully.
Yes. Let's move on to other newspapers. The Guardian newspaper, yes. States owing 4 trillion in domestic debts. Lagos, yes, Super Lagos, leader in IGRO, they are owing as much as 542.23 billion, followed by Delta State, that's where I come from, 223.44 billion, 442 billion. Rivers, both Rivers Delta, oil producing, receiving part of that 13%. Rivers, 225.592 billion. Jigawa, 38.227. Owing so much, 4 trillion, the federal government owing as much as 21 trillion.
It's
Terrible.
The problem is not the debt, but what these debt were used to accomplish.
Yes, that's that good
That is the
debt
big
argument
question.
and bad debt. If you're spending this, the borrowed funds on infrastructure,
Exactly.
is one thing. Spending it on recurrent expenses like salaries and what have you is another.
Yes. And of course, the Punch newspaper, we are having difficulty servicing debt. That's the federal government. So we are in the debt quagmire, as it were. But what this debt were used for is what many are still asking about. But let's move over to the foreign newspaper, the UK. Yes,
Brexit.
the deal at last. The Guardian newspaper, UK. Johnson gets his Brexit deal. Now, it's a number. It's a numbers game. Now it's a numbers game. That's in Parliament. What will happen in Parliament? Yes, if we look at other newspapers, how they are reporting this story in the UK, the Guardian, I'm trying to, sorry. Yes, other newspapers are also reporting the story. The Herald newspaper, yes, Brexit deal in the balance. It's not Uhuru yet, because tomorrow in Parliament, we'll see whether Boris Johnson can push through this Brexit deal to get approval.
I don't know how he can.
That is the difficult part of the game.
Well, reading the tea leaves, it's not looking great, is it? Labour is out.
DUP
out.
Yeah, Brexit Party out.
The Liberal Democrats out. But they're thinking they could sort of persuade some of the Labour MPs whose constituencies voted for Brexit, or strong-arm them and tell them to represent their constituents and not their own conscience. But there's also sort of divisions within the Tory party.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson, he's alienated so many of his own
forced
party.
some party members out of the party.
So they might not support his
So
deal.
now he needs the numbers.
Brexit Party.
And he's not getting the numbers.
Yes.
He said it's the second worst deal in UK history after Theresa May's. That was Richard Tice of the Brexit Party. So
yes,
I don't know
it's
where
not
he's getting
great.
support from.
Well, in the USA today, Turkey agrees to ceasefire in Syria.
Yeah,
5 days.
Pence did
5
not have
days.
a smile on his face.
Well,
So
Turkey don't
5
call it
days.
ceasefire, they call it a pause.
Yes.
Pause.
It's not a stop. Yeah.
So let's hope after 5 days, there will be a permanent ceasefire if the courts agree to move their troops
Thank
certainly
you, Mr.
hope so.
Efeni.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Efeni. That's all on this segment of the morning show.